Valheim's dead. It's over. I hate to say it. We're done. And seriously, these are comments that I've been getting more and more frequently on my videos, and only more fuel has been added to the fire with the recent challenger to Valheim's throne in RuneScape Dragon Wilds recently coming onto the market. Unlike previous contenders to Valheim's throne like Enshrouded, V-Rising, or even Satisfactory, just to name a few, this one has the power of the RuneScape IP behind it. But I have one message for RuneScape and all others sinking Valheim's throne.
You come at the king, you best not miss.
But seriously, I played RuneScape Dragon Wilds and even made a video detailing many of its great features that I'm hoping that Valheim will consider incorporating into their game. The foundation for the game is strong, but a Valheim killer? I think the death of Valheim has been vastly overstated. But don't take my word for it. Today we'll assess the current state of Valheim, prove by the numbers why it's far from dead, and also discuss the future of the game, including its Deep North update, which I hope is going to have polar bears? But first, let's start with the current state of Valheim, which came in with a bang in 2021 to critical acclaim and sold millions of copies. Yet, this stunning success left fans hungry for more, which ultimately led to what I think is the most common and admittedly justified fan complaint, and simply how long it takes the Iron Gate team to provide updates for the game. Shortly after its early success, the dev team were pressured to produce a roadmap with a timeline pretty laughable to most at this point. Obviously, while this original timeline was never met, most of what was featured has been delivered across one of its 3 major updates, including 2 new biomes in the Mistlands and Ashlands, a new NPC in the recent Bogwitch patch, or from smaller injections of content like that from Hearth and Home, Frost Caves, and addition of Abomination and Root Armor in the Swamps. Not a lot considering this past May marked 4 years since its launch, upsetting many of its players, and honestly is a bit alarming compared to the development cycles of its competitors. By comparison, V-Rising started in early access roughly a year after Valheim in 2022, and in just under 2 years came out of EA in 2024, and amazingly piled on further, producing a significant expansion via its hardy Invaders of Oakvale 1.1 update just a month ago. Likewise, maybe bearing the closest resemblance to Valheim is Enshrouded, released in January 2024. Since that time, the Keen Games team have released countless bountiful updates and have carefully curated a plan to come out of early access in the spring of 26. Fortunately, we finally have some prospect of a timeline for Valheim's own 1.0 release, more on that later in the video. Despite light being at the end of the tunnel, it's hard to ignore the fact that with 4 years of early access already under its belt, saying this game has lagged its compatriots in development would be an absolute understatement. That said, what most failed to consider is the size of the teams and culture behind the organizations working on these projects. Valheim famously had just 5 people working on the game upon release, and while the team has expanded in the subsequent years, it still sits at less than 20 employees. Conversely, AI tells me, okay guys, I know, take this with a grain of salt. V-Rising has a team roughly twice the size, and while even less information is available for Keen Games, the developer of Enshrouded, based on its frequency of updates, it's probably fair to say it's larger than Valheim's. Further too, it's no secret that Iron Gate had the luxury of massive financial success after the launch of Valheim, and chose that rare opportunity to take care of its people, ensure a culture free of crunch, and ultimately allow their employees to maintain a work-life balance that I value greatly, and I respect the hell out of the Iron Gate team for making that a priority. All that said too, while the updates have been slow, I think we can all agree the quality is unparalleled in the action-adventure survival crafting genre. Now, by no means do I say all this to throw shade at V-Rising and Enshrouded, or imply their studios crunch their employees or deliver low-quality updates. In fact, I think both are incredible games that if only I didn't have this meddling day job, I'd be pouring hours and hours into them to quite possibly rival the 1,000 hours I have committed to my favorite Viking game. But have they had the success of Valheim? Have they gripped the curiosity of players like Valheim? Have they or will they continue to have the longevity of a game like Valheim? I think not, and the numbers behind each of them bear that truth in plain sight for anyone to see. For starters, this is a chart showing the monthly peak of players on Steam since its inception, which on the surface is not a very happy chart. Sure, it did peak at 500,000 at launch, literally a top 20 game on Steam all time by the way. It's steadily been in decline ever since. However, if you now compare it to V-Rising, while having more peaks, I think the valleys are actually more telling for the health of a game, which I'll elaborate on further in a moment. Similarly, Enshrouded. Even Dragon Wilds, powered by an existing and well-known IP, suffers the same fate. All of these games, when compared side by side, have their explosive launches, peaks for updates, but at the end of the day, their player base peters out. People beat the games, they move on. That's the natural life cycle of non-live service games. But where things get interesting are in the valleys of these graphs, not the peaks. In just a month, RuneScape's player base has fallen from an apex of 52,000 to just 2 or 3 in the past few weeks. V-Rising, ignoring its recent 1.1 patch, has fallen from its 1.0 hype to around 7 or 8,000 peak players. Enshrouded, certainly the most successful of the three, was treading water between 10 and 20,000 before a slight bump in the Thralls or Twilight update. Valheim, on the other hand, 30 to 50,000 peak players daily, despite being by far the oldest game of the bunch, 4 years removed from its original release date, and has yet to receive its 1.0 boost like that from its Vampire counterpart. But you might ask, what about Xbox and PlayStation? So far, we've concerned ourselves only with PC. Well, console sales are harder to pin down, but we can compare copies sold with V-Rising, which had 5 million as of January of this year, Dragon Wilds 600k, and Enshrouded 1 million in its first week. Valheim, you might ask? It sold a mind-boggling 10 million in its first year, and as of now, 3 years ago, had dealt over 12 million, and who knows how many in 2025, and how many more will be sold with its 1.0 release. Valheim is just built different. I don't know what it is, but there's something just magical or mystical about this world that has yet to be replicated in any game to date. No matter the new shiny game that happens to be on the market. Is it mods? Is it the building? Maybe that's a topic to explore in another video. But if you're still not convinced Valheim is alive and well, a look forward at its future updates and its own inevitable 1.0 release will surely convince you. The future of Valheim is something the team at Irongate are keeping close to their chests. Unlike with the preceding Ashlands update where screenshots were shared and features were spoiled, we have received relatively very little about its final biome. To date, 5 and what have now been rebranded as words from the devs have been released in each of the past months, revealing in-development screenshots and the associated adventure of the brave Viking Herver Bloodtooth's journey to the far north of the 10th world. Vikings be warned, spoilers do lie ahead, so if you'd like to keep the deep north a surprise, now might be a good time to click off. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. In these short videos, we are exposed to an expected harsh environment with dense forest, heavy deep snow, and mysterious abandoned structures, looking vastly different than the game's barren and jagged mountains biome. Plus, to nobody's surprise, Herver is certainly not alone. 2 new creatures have been revealed, with seals appearing to have 1 and 2 star variants with different lengths of horns, but also the terrifying Ella King shown stalking and leaping towards our hero. Beyond the deep north, the development team have assured that players can expect far more than simply a new biome with its 1.0 release. Things such as achievements will be delivered, mod support, and shockingly, a promised change to fighting on slopes confirmed here and teased in this screenshot. Not to mention, confirmation that players can expect an update to other biomes, not only the deep north. To hold players over too, in their most recent post, they did confirm we can expect a smaller update, maybe of the magnitude of the Bogwitch patch before 1.0 to hold us over for the big day. This may just include a new armor set teased in this screenshot. Any guesses which biome we might unlock this one? Based on this, I'm fully expecting a major resurgence of players taking to Valheim leading up to its final release. In fact, massive streamers have already been flocking to the game, like Quinn69 or one of my fave FPS streamers, Enshrouded, who in recent weeks have embarked on heavily modded playthroughs of the game. If we're to look back at the 1.0 release of the aforementioned V-Rising, or another heavily Valheim-inspired game like Core Keeper, each approached similar peak player counts as their early access releases, and in the case of Core Keeper, even surpassed it. Taking into account the historical precedent of similar games, the higher relative core fanbase of Valheim, and the incredible hype that has been building over the previous 4 years, I fully expect a peak as high as early access, and maybe, just maybe, we could surpass it altogether. While we continue to wait for a release date, with my guess being spring 2026, it's clear we have so much to look forward to. So you may ask again, is it too little, too late, like my boy right here suggests? Is Valheim truly dead? I say hell no. The best is yet to come.